out there? My name is Laolu Akonde, and you are on to Inside Sources. But first, here is my take for today, 2026 World Cup in the Americas with Philip Shaibu, who is the Director General and the Chief Executive Officer of the National Institute for Sports. And we got talking. Now, one thing that you must give this former Deputy Governor of Edo State is his passion for people and his passion for sports. Shaibu made a point that stopped me second. You see, Nigeria is not playing in this 2026 World Cup, and that is a painful reality for many of us, I'm sure. But here is what is striking. Even though Nigeria is not playing, Nigerians are not absent. They are here, flying the colors of other countries, and they are shining doing it. Just imagine if those Nigerians who are shining here, if they were flying the green, white, green colors, how it would have been a most joyous thing for many of us to watch them as playing for the Super Eagles to compete on this global stage. Well, that is not happening now, and that is sad. But I'm here and doing my take in New York City, around where you have the New York, New Jersey Stadium, which is one of the proud venues of this ongoing tournament. And even though the green, white, green was nowhere to be seen here, no less than 16 Nigerians are featuring in this big global event. There is a Nigerian son, for instance, who is swearing for the United States national team. He played last Sunday and last Friday in stadiums in California and in Washington. His name is Folarin Balogun, born of Nigerian immigrant parents. He scored 2 of the 4 goals. Okay, the same thing he did when he was instrumental to the goal, the first goal that gave victory to America against Australia. Now, here is the irony of all of that, and I want you to pay attention to this. President Donald Trump has implemented policies that have put immigrants across America in some serious jeopardy. Africans like Nigerians, Ghanaians, Somalians, and other countries have been among those whose undocumented immigrants are being forcefully ejected from the country. Even visas have been denied and families have been torn apart. Immigrants who remain here cannot seem to walk with confidence on the street because they have suddenly become vulnerable, worried, and scared. And yet, in the middle of all of that, a son of Nigerian immigrants is bringing glory to the very country his parents' people, or people like his parents, are being pushed out of. Now, if that is not irony, I don't know what is. That's so palpable. But as Nigerians, we must celebrate Folarin Balogun, not be in those stands across the US and Canada and Mexico. We must commend what people like Folarin is doing for letting Nigeria's light to shine, even if under another nation's flag. Hey, he's still a Nigerian. And Folarin is not alone. Here is the roll call. There is Tani Oluwaseyi, who was born in Abuja and then moved to Canada as a child and is now part of Canada's World Cup squad. A Nigerian-born player at the World Cup, but not for Nigeria. Also for Canada, there is Promise David and Owen Goodman, also playing for Canada, like I said. There's also Bukayo Saka, Eberechi Eze, and Noni Madueke playing for England. There is Jamal Musiala and Felix Mecha playing for Germany. There is Manuel Akonji and Noah Okafor playing for Switzerland. There is David Alaba and Kani Chukwuemeka playing for Austria. There is Michael Olise playing for France. There's Antonio Nusa playing for Norway. And there's Ime Okon playing for South Africa. 16 players, 8 countries, but none of them represent Nigeria. It's a mixed bag. Our flag is not flying, but yet our people are shining. And that's the point I want to leave you with today. The issue is never with the Nigerian people. Let nobody deceive you about that. Nigerians are world-class and gold standard in every field, in every problem, and we must say it plainly, is leadership. It is the failure of those who are entrusted with organizing and developing our country and developing our football, by extension, to match the quality of the raw materials that Nigerians have, even in soccer, because that raw material is there and it is exceptional. It has always been exceptional. Now, Nigeria did not qualify for this World Cup, But Nigerian excellence showed up in this World Cup anyway. And that's a good thing. But we must say this, until we fix our leadership structures, until we hold our leadership to account, until we build systems worthy of the talents that this nation produces, we will keep watching our best people shining for other people's anthems and flying the colors of other nations. Food for thought. And one more thing. When a federal high court in Abuja undemocratically ruled that parties such as Accord Party and the African Democratic Congress and some others should be deregistered, that was a major problem. The court in Abuja ignored a pending order of a higher court, an appeal court, to withhold action. But thank God, there is now another court of appeal ruling that has restored our sanity as a people. God bless those courts. Now, here is the point to make. Nigerians must have a viable opposition so that the electorate isn't outrightly disempowered, so we can't have a situation where notable opposition parties are being stifled in any way, not the least by courts in the land. And lastly, let us give kudos to INEC, the agency that has behaved very commendably in this instance, and let us commend their leadership for standing up for what is right. At least on this occasion, we have to congratulate the INEC for doing its job, saying that it will not deregister political parties, especially when those political parties are the major opposition parties in the country. That's a good one. And there you have it. Inside Sources goes full blast right after this, and I'm going to have a full discussion on the state of the nation with three of the leading Nigerian intellectuals in the country right after this. Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today, I'm going to have a full-fledged discussion on the state of the nation, looking at issues around security and politics of 2027, and the whole idea of whether indeed we are in a democracy as we ought to. To join me in those important conversations, I have a full-fledged of leading Nigerian public intellectuals. Right here to my immediate right, I have Malam Baba Yusuf, a strategist, policy advisor, and the group CEO of GITC. Malam Baba, welcome to Inside Sources.
Thank you very much for having me.
Good to see you.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, thank you. Thank you. To his immediate right, I also have a leading Nigerian journalist and author, and also a retired banker. I'd like to welcome back to Inside Sources, Mr. Etim Etim. Etim, good to see you again.
Nice to be here.
It's been a while. Thank you for coming. And joining us virtually is the former managing director and editor-in-chief of The Guardian, who is also a columnist, Mr. Martins Oloja. Brother Martin, good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. Right. So, in opening our conversation today, looking at the very serious circumstances and situation that we have found ourselves as a country because of insecurity, I have noticed that in the last several months, or possibly in the last 1 or 2 years, we've had gatherings, where at times the president is even sitting in the place, and then former presidents, 2, 3, 4 of them, such as when General Ibrahim Babangida launched his book, and then I think more recently, General Yakubu Gowon also launched his book, and I think, even most recently, General Abubakar Abdusalami launched his book. And you have at least 3 or 4 or 5 former heads of states or presidents gathering. But in all of those events, at least those 3 that the latest that we know, there's no talk about the seriousness of the insecurity in the country. So I wanted to ask you guys that, what was your take when you have the kind of turmoil that is happening socially? Let's even focus on socially. Let's leave political problems and economic problems. The turmoil, especially because of the problems of insecurity. And you have our former leaders gathering. Shouldn't they say a thing or two about those problems? And I will start with Malam.
Thank you very much for that very important question, Prof. Because the leaders, lead the people or should lead the people. And I totally understand it from the context of not necessarily criticizing the government. Of course, if need be, they should. but from the point of view of displaying a sense of responsibility, from the point of view of displaying empathy and connection to the people they have led at various times in various strata, and for the fact that they are still part and parcel of Nigeria in their local government, in their states, and other locations. So to be honest with you, I totally agree. I will expect the least is during those gatherings for us to observe the 1 minute silence for the fallen heroes, for the victims, to recognize what they are going through, and to lend a voice supporting proactive, progressive, sustained, and consistent action to deal with this insecurity. Interestingly, you mentioned a very common title for all of them. They are all former generals, right? And former generals
mostly, except President
Goodluck Jonathan. These were generals. And then he was also the CNC, who led this country also during the thick of insecurity. And I believe that people like that have become critical national assets that by virtue of their experiences still have something to offer in trying to make this country better. So I think this is very important for us to reiterate. Our fathers, the leaders of the nation that have led us at various times in this country. General Ground, by the way, was the head of state during the Civil War. And they know what they saw, and we know what happened. We are still going through the motions of trying to go through, exiting the psychological and social impacts. You talked about social. So I totally agree with you. I would have loved to see that fatherly, mien and coming across by these leaders with profound respect to them, to say, we are still connected with you. We still feel what you are feeling. We know that they speak a lot offline with the sitting presidents, but that is also a time to demonstrate that fatherliness to Nigeria and to give that hope to the people of this country in whatever form or means, and to reiterate their stand and support for whatever we are fighting, whether it is hunger, whether it is poverty, whether it is insecurity, until the day that we all live each other in this world. So I think it shouldn't just be a place where we all meet, slap our backs, and pretend as if we are living in a bubble that is not part of Nigeria. After all, we are discussing their memoirs, which is a reflection of what they did right or what they did wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Even if many of them don't often tell us what they did wrong.
What they did wrong.
So let's take it to Etim. Etim, do you think that part of that reticence, and in my view, what I consider to be a lack of empathy, is it because they don't want to criticize the government of the day, or what do you think could restrain them from showing that?
I think whatever they say in public always have implication and interpretation. So they are playing safe, because typically former leaders don't criticize incumbents all over the world because they have access to demand in seats. But I agree with the premise of your question that they should make public statements at those events to express their sympathy and empathy about victims of violence and give Nigerians assurance that things will be okay. But again, they are also restrained from doing that because in a way, it will be self-indicting. So you've been in office for this long. What did you do? All that you can now do is to come out and be mouthing sympathies. These people are in a very bad situation. Whether in office, they didn't do well. Out of the office, they cannot seem to offer any word of comfort. It's very terrible and bad situation they find themselves.
It's quite something to
very disappointing.
Worry about. Yeah. Mr. Loja, please, what's your take? What's your take, Mr. Loja?
I think that really it's a very serious gap. And as my colleagues there have mentioned, it's a serious gap, and that is why we are discussing it. And I think they should take a lesson from that you see the common word, either empathy. If we want to take it to the realm we believe in, we say compassion, because one of our leaders that we believe in, while solving problems, while healing people, he will always read that he had compassion on the people first before solving their problems. I think our leaders should consider that, and they should have a compassion, they should have empathy, and that is why we are criticizing some of them that are also in office at this time, that there are crises in some places and they are not having empathy. They are not even discussing it wherever they are campaigning. That one, we felt that they should have even suspended part of their primaries as part of the empathy we are talking about, to say to refer to what has just happened in Oyo State, for instance, that because of that, for a few hours, for a few days, for even a week, we will suspend our primaries so that people will know that our leaders actually have this empathy. And this is a serious gap. And from now, I think they should remember that they are there because of the people. We, the people, are their employers. And that is why the issue of servant leadership came up during the time of the late Umaru Yaradua. Servant leadership. If you are serving the people you are serving, if there are issues at that time, when these leaders gathered like that, it's not about talking about but it's not about self-indictment. Yes, that's what they think about, but they should always think about the people, and the people they should be afraid of. That, as I refer to in one of my articles in recent time, that at this time, the leaders should be afraid of the people. But now we have been wired to be afraid of our leaders, and that is not good enough.
Absolutely. All right. I just thought that it's good to have a reflection on that because, just like every one of the gentlemen here have said, it's also a reflection of who we are as a people generally. Normally, the leaders are also always the one that set examples. So hopefully we hope that this our little contribution can influence even those who manage some of these people, who draw up the programs. Yes. That at the very minimum, if you don't want to be critical, say a word of comfort, say a word of compassion, and inspire hope, in the country. But let's move along. So recently, we are still dealing with the Oyo State abduction, but this week there was, some rescue in Borno. Yes. And then, of course, I think the governor of Oyo State has also said that they have information. He said this publicly, that they have information that the terrorists are still in the national park. I think the national park, the whole national park stretches from Oyo all the way. Somebody said it, all the way to Niger. So it's a huge place. But my point is that, and then the president himself said in his June 12 broadcast, I think he did say that we are going to deal with the terrorists, and I think there's also information out there that about 18,000 terrorists have been killed. So my first conversation is that how should we measure the efforts of the government, so that it doesn't seem that that people are not paying attention. That look, so they said about 18,000 terrorists have been killed, I think this year or the last 1 year. I'll cross-check. So how do we measure the efforts of the government? That's how I want us to open the conversation. And maybe I should turn the stuff. Let's start with Etin, and then we go to Mr. Martin, and then we come back to the studio with
the president. Quoted some statistics: 18,000 killed, number of deaths have fallen, but I looked at it carefully. He did not state within what time frame. He just made a broad sweeping statement, and that is quite misleading. He should have told us, is it in the last 1 year or not? Now, to answer your question directly, the best way to measure the efforts of the government is the mood of the nation and the safety of Nigerians. You can't tell us that 18,000 have been killed, and yet children and school kids are being abducted everywhere across the country. Who are these people being killed then? The impact we want to see is the reduction, drastic reduction in the number of people kidnapped throughout the year. There should not even be any incidents of mass kidnapping in this country. There should not be any incidents of school abduction in this country. The first report of school abduction was in 2014, Chibok. And we all thought that would be the first and the last. And now it would seem that the nation is actually normalized to it. The outrage is no more there, if you have observed. The international outrage is as if everybody has moved on and left this country to keep falling. We are in a very difficult place. Very difficult place. I don't want to sound alarming, but I'm worried for the nation for the first time. I'm worried for the country for the first time.
Okay. All right. Very, yeah, we should all be sober without a doubt, looking at what is happening. Mr. Loja, what's your take? How should we measure, what the government is saying? Say, look at how much we have done.
Well, definitely, as my brother Etim has said, we measure by action. And these days, we use data. Because when a problem is measured, I think it can be handled. And when we measure what is happening now and look at the mood of the nation, I don't think that anybody has any optimism that a solution is in sight. Because just before we came into the studio, you see people sharing information about a general in Katsina State that it is not even rumor or anything. It's the government of Katsina State that issued a statement that the general had died in detention of terrorists. How do you juxtapose that one with the claim that was just made about, they are always assuring us, hear generalization from the military institutions and authorities that, we have captured this thing, we have routed this, we have done this, we have done that. But the data that we are using and the information piece is coming out, school adoption, in so many parts of the country, now it's no longer in Northeast or Northwest. People are afraid and they don't want their children to go to school, especially in the rural areas. People do not want to allow their children because they feel that the children are not protected. And we juxtapose that one with actually the fundamental objective that we read all the time, that security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. As in that section 14 that people have always been quoting is there. And people feel insecure even now, despite the assurance. And we feel that if children are not safe, then there is a problem. If anybody cannot sleep well anywhere now, they say that they are all over the country. They are in Oyo State, you can't get them. Yes, one happened inside Ibadan and they were able to take care of that. But these children, and it's not as if they are not using data. Even though we get one of the victims like that, that teacher, that woman, to be talking from time to time from Oyo State, but they have not been able to get there. We say that, to avoid this one, to avoid that. We keep hearing conflicting reports about what is happening and what is not happening. What they are demanding, what they are not demanding. Then we are beginning to notice lack of capacity on the part of these institutions that are supposed to deal with insecurity. Lack of capacity. When elsewhere, hear how they are responding, even from nation to nation, not to talk of internal security, that we are beginning to see lack of capacity. And when we see lack of capacity, people begin to lose confidence in the capacity of government to be able to deal with the problem, especially this insecurity. And you know that people are going to put all these things on the ballot very soon. And I think that we do not need to be deodorizing what is messy at this time. We need to encourage our government. We don't need to pull down the government. We don't need to pull anything. But the data we are seeing, the pieces of information we are getting from the wilderness and from everywhere, everybody is afraid. Look at Lagos, where people are even expecting now. They are trying to say, we got this one in Lekki. Police, we dismiss it and say it is not true. But sometimes we'll see that some of the video recordings, we do fact checking. We believe that, police are just doing their own most of the time to say, it is not true. It's to diffuse tension everywhere so that we do not see that the nation is insecure. And I believe that all these things that are happening, government should be very, very careful to ensure that we find good result by all these things. This story from Katsina is very depressing, that even generals are not safe. You cannot get them anywhere. Nobody is safe. And I think that this is more serious now than anything else, than even the election we are preparing for. It's more serious. Insecurity. Our children are insecure. We are insecure. Market people are feeling insecure. You cannot travel by road. Anywhere you are going, you are not too sure who is even stopping you. And it's really a very bad state of the nation report.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's bring it to Madam. What's your take about government saying that, look at, see how much work we are doing on this thing. How do you respond to that vis-a-vis the problem on the ground?
First of all, I've said it times without number that the government's strategy, a reporting performance is very reactive, very impulsive, very scattered, very disorganized. And I'm saying it with all sense of responsibility. They speak as if they are still in campaign mode. Prof. Well, let me refer us to part of the president's speech about a week ago, the Democracy Day. Somewhere he said, democracy without security is not solid enough, end of quote. And this goes to the sycophants of Mr. President, the hero worshippers of Mr. President, and all other people that are supporting political leaders, whether at federal or subnationals. Indeed, it has been happening even before the advent of this administration. It is sad that the sycophants that don't want us to speak truth to power, not because we hate the government, not because we dislike the face of the people in government, but indeed, it is only when we tell ourselves the truth that we can make positive trajectory in this country, social, economic, political, whatnot. The president has spoken. And what he's telling us is that, yes, they are struggling, but yes, there are issues. And that issue is hitting the core of the political and democratic institutions of this country. Coming to the solution. And by the way, to the government also, that are criticizing us that we are not proffering solutions. Hello, the last time I checked, Prof, myself, Etim, and Mr. Oloja, we are not the ones that campaigned and promised to deliver. So the responsibility of providing solution, you sycophants, belong to the leaders at federal and national. Ours to add our voice, whether to criticize, whether to comment, which is indeed we do when it matters. But the solution should be given by that. But then again, we'll offer solutions to you to show you that we have the capacity to do so. Measurement of performance is very simple. I don't need any World Bank or IMF to profile solution to me. Like Mr. Oloja and Etim said, what are we seeing on the ground, Prof? What were the numbers before this administration? What are the numbers now?
Okay.
Now, I just took some notes. First of all, they have an issue with strategic communication. The way they deliver the information, like I said, is disparate, and most times cannot be proven. For example, we have killed 18,000 people, blah, blah, blah. In America and any other country, in Chad and even neighboring countries, what happens is the way the terrorists display our citizens dead or alive or even slaughtered on social media, on mass media, is the way we need to see the people that you are killing. It cannot be virtual reality because it's not a video game. Even if it is a video game, we should see some semblance of that. Take, for example, America. They have a strategy of issuing a scalp. I've said it before. They must show you the scalp. They must demonstrate power. What happened in Venezuela and other places? They want to show you that we are on ground and we are doing it. It's not photo shoot. It's not film trick.
When they picked the former president,
yes, that
they showed it to the whole
yes, it's deliberate. When you do that, even the terrorists will now know that, oh, these people are doing it. And that is why the terrorists do it. And they continue instilling fear into the minds of the people. And no matter how much you reel out numbers, with profound respect to the authorities, the people will not believe you because they know what is happening on ground.
Because they are seeing
they are seeing it on ground.
Are
showing them. And apart from showing them, they are victims. They know the impact.
Yeah.
If you have killed people, they know whether you kill them or not. So you need to switch from propaganda. Propaganda should be a subset of communication strategy. It should not be the communication strategy.
Not to be the core.
No, it shouldn't be. It should be a subset. Having said that also, impact assessment is a critical success factor to strategy execution. It gives you the real-time situational assessment on ground to help you tweak your strategy, to help you know what you require. We don't hear impact assessments, dashboard style. If you are doing these numbers, this is the number the terrorists kill, this is the number we kill in Hutua, in Orenamoda, in Shinkafi, in Oyo, dashboard style that are evidential. We see the president of the United States of America, the most powerful country on earth, making it a duty daily, whether it is President Joe Biden, President Obama, President George Bush Sr., down to President Trump. day in, day out. They are not stupid. They know what they are doing by coming to talk to the people because it is their responsibility to do so. And in communicating, they talk about impacts. What is the impact of insecurity, or what are the impacts of the actions we have taken? You cannot tell me you have killed how many thousand people when now insecurity has taken foothold in the sidelines of Oyo State. When 4 years ago, nobody would have imagined it would even cross to Niger. Okay. So these are simple ways to access performance. Having said that,
before you go to I want to just ask you to hold on, because we have two journalists here. We're going to continue the solutions.
Okay.
I want Mr. Martin and Mr. Etin to talk about this idea of the way communication is done publicly.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Madam has raised a very important point that, look, strategic communication is lagging behind from the government. But both of you are I mean, this is your forte. So I want you to respond, you know, to the significance of that in the conveyance of whatever government is doing compared to what the terrorists are doing. Now, I for instance, I served in government for 8 years in that area. And I must say, I found out that the communication system, the public information is totally, is almost absent. Even as a media advisor, you know, I mean, thank God that my own principal had a more, you know, he is more media savvy. There are times when I have to fight. I have to fight to be in meetings. Ooh. I have to fight to say that this is how this information is going to be useful. You know, because the system seems to have been so, I mean, they care less. I'll give an example, and then I'll let Etim and Martin also comment. There was a time we had a national executive, National Economic Council meeting that the vice president chairs. And one of the governors said, look, all this, you know, he was saying it in the meeting, that all these things that we don't have to tell the country, we don't have to tell, because that was a critical issue.
Yeah.
And the vice president, you know, said to him that we can't do that. We have to tell them whether the issues are critical or not. A governor whose name I'm going to, I won't just mention his name, was saying that, look, it's not every time, because it was a tense moment, and the politicians would rather think that, look, let's just leave that. And that's the attitude that I have seen in government. But I want Etim and then Martin to also make a word, and then, Madam, you go with your solutions.
Okay. Another problem this administration has is many people talking at the same time, sometimes conflicting themselves. The Senate president said the other day that insecurity always increases as election approaches. That is a very terrible statement to say.
Completely.
In other words, so you know that election is coming and insecurity will be hiking, and yet you are folding up your hands, waiting only to come and tell us that this is what happens.
Not what you are doing about it.
You are not telling us what you have done.
Absolutely.
To thwart this. You are not telling us that, okay, we anticipated that this will come, and this is what we put in place to check insecurity. So this is one of the major problems this administration has. Many people talking at cross purposes, all trying to impress the president.
Thank you. Mr. Oloja, please make an input, and then we come back to solutions.
Yeah, definitely. I think that our oracles there have spoken. But you know, Madam Yusuf said something about performance indices. So you know that this thing, I've written and have spoken to this sometimes at some public relation functions, that one, you know, my brother, that this journalism is not public relations, as you have noticed at some of those annual functions of National Association of Black Journalists, which two of us are members, that you do not practice, you do not cross over from journalism to public relations without going through some crash programs, because journalism that we practice from where we cross over, journalism damages. If you do good journalism, you know it damages reputation. And when you cross over to public relations, you are going to manage your reputation. So you need to do it before, you need to have some training. How you have to renew your mind about crossing over from journalism to public relations. And that is just as far as background can go. So our people, the way they are practicing reputation management is really very strange to me. And I believe that, yes, some of these our people who are just reacting instead of explaining to people. They will be blaming something. They will even link one yesterday, even linked something like that to Peter Obi or to some other opposition leaders. Instead of dealing with the issues, they will be crossing over to political warriors that that even he said the plane that landed in on the road in Asaba. That didn't you see that it belonged to even a church leader, and that church leader is a supporter of Peter Obi? You know that kind of thing that at such a time like this, thinking a tragedy like that and something that's unusual to politics immediately. I don't think that public relation officers, it's one of the president's men who tweeted that, and I think that is not right. They should face issues, and the first issue then managing information at such a time like this. Let me give you a specific thing that we discussed recently at a function. There is no reason the government of the day, say maybe the federal government and whatever we are talking about, state police and all those things like that, why can't they set up a committee, a communication committee, to be even briefing the nation daily? If they can't do it daily, why can't they be briefing people so regularly so that there will be no gap in communication? Not to be talking as Etim will say, at cross purposes, all the leaders, everybody is trying to impress the president. They are there to impress the nation, to help the president to impress the nation, so that people will understand what is going on, so that people will diffuse tension everywhere. What is wrong with daily briefing, as they used to do in this place, as they do in the White House, even for international, whatever you are criticizing about, you see, he has time. Even President Donald Trump, he will have time to even write a tweet. He will write time. He will be the first one to even break to us that this is what has happened in Nigeria. Before we even woke up, he did it himself, so that people will understand what we are doing in Nigeria, so that people will understand that they look at the press secretary. They brief people every time. Sometimes daily, they will brief the State House correspondent so that there will be no gap. People will have opportunity of asking questions. We hear recently that they are beginning to embed some journalists in some operations. That is a very good thing, but they should be briefing the nation. This is a complex federation where things can easily go wrong, where things can go viral, where even wrong information, where falsehood can go viral. So they have a responsibility to set up a strategic committee to be briefing people daily what is happening. We know that they cannot be briefing people about strategy. All the things they are saying, oh, these things have arrived, even it's wrong strategy. But what is happening, what they are doing, even before information will come up to say that this is what the terrorists are asking. We don't need all those things that are only for the terrorists to say, no, we didn't ask. They asked one of the victims to say, we didn't ask for 1 billion, we didn't ask for this. They should be briefing us and letting us know. They shouldn't be briefing us about next election. They should be briefing us what they are doing about insecurity so specifically. And I think it's wrong strategy for them to keep quiet, to leave everything to the social media for speculation and speculation. So they have a responsibility to set up a committee, whether at the level, because the military people have done something strategic by doing the briefing, but there is a government in place. It's not a military government. It's a civilian government. And we, the people, deserve to know what is happening. We deserve to be assured, not through a speech. We don't want them to be great talkers and little doers, as Franklin Benjamin, as a Franklin would say. They are great talkers and little doers. I'm talking. Yes, they are great talkers and little doers. Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers, he talked about great talkers and little doers. They shouldn't be great talkers like that. They should be strategic in their communication by simplifying information management. They should brief people regularly, not for everybody to be talking at cross purposes. And I think that's a flaw. And it's a character flaw. And what flaw leads to is tragedy. That's tragic flaws. It will lead to tragic heroes.
Okay, Martin. Thank you so much. So, Malam, I want you to go ahead with those solutions, and then we will talk about the progress of state police. But please, conclude the point.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oloja and Etim, for capturing it from a practice perspective succinctly. And where I will continue is to say, you cannot give what you don't have. And as they say in the streets of Nigeria, if it didn't day, it didn't day. When you hire...
Ala Wiki.
Ala Wiki. Yes. I borrowed the words of the great Wiki. If it didn't day, he didn't day. When you hire political jobbers, and, sycophants and hire emotionally politicians and just put them in all manner of positions. This is what you get. And on the flip side, if you hire practitioners without a structure, a modus operandi, what you call the SOP, standard operating procedure, to say this is how I want my government to be communicating based on my communication strategy, and there should be a synergy, there's a chain of command, there's a process flow, and there's escalation levels. Then this is what you have. So even if they are experts, they say too much ingredients spoil the broth. So this is what we have, because you will agree with me, most of the spokesperson, not all of them, the critical ones at the presidential and state level have no business being spokespersons. From the point of view of practice and expertise in public management of the principle, like Mr. Oloja said, or from the point of view of even integrity. When people sit down and turn truth on its head, they cannot even be savvy enough to communicate what you call strategic communication. That is what you have. So having said that, I agree. Round pegs in round holes is very crucial, and having the right numbers. I have lost count of the people that speak on behalf of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I've lost count. I don't know how many special assistants are there. I don't know how many special advisors are there. I don't know how many personal assistants to the special advisors to do whatever. And that is the issue, and everybody is firing from all cylinders. Having said that, coming back to the solution, that is part of the problem. And so the solution is to streamline your communication strategy, to have a standard operating procedure, and to have a dashboard to that effect, talking about impact assessment. And impact assessment should be communicated periodically.
Just like Mr.
In this state of national crisis, the issue of national security, the issue of the economy should be communicated daily until we exit the crisis, then you can adjust. Right? And you must have a methodology of that. And there should be escalation, because if you decide as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, it is just some special assistant that should talk to the people, sometimes insulting anybody that asks any question, then you are saying that you're above the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, whose mandate you sought, whose election votes you asked for, and they gave you. So you now become incommunicado, and sometimes they even communicate what you don't want communicated. Moving on from there also, we should have, as part of the solutions, now moving away from communication, because communication is what you can just communicate. Good or bad, you make the best of it. What is the solution? Or what are the ways out of insecurity? I just drafted some action points. First of all, political will. But we talk about it, it becomes a cliche. So I'm answering that question of what do we mean by political will. First of all, for Mr. President, understanding the gravity of issue, sack all politicians that are holding any professional security portfolio. Simplicity. Because they cannot give what they cannot give what they don't have. Again, if it didn't dare, it didn't dare. Fire all political appointees at this crucial moment. You don't need that, because we are in a critical position. Hire professionals, core experts in the various frameworks and strata of security, value chain, and put them there, square pegs in square holes. There's no emotion in this station. It is hitting your government. For the first time in our country, the President of the United States of America is trying to come and become our coach in this country. Moving on from that, I think also we should have consequences for actions, not just in the case of the bandits or the terrorists. People that have big responsibility that they have failed to deliver, what are you doing about them? People that have big responsibility of security and are coming out openly to show sympathy to the enemy combatant. And the military and the armed forces know what it means. I don't know what is going on in the minds of our generals and combatant soldiers, rank and file.
Calling the terrorists prodigal sons.
Prodigal sons and brothers. I don't know what is going on in the mind of our soldiers in the front line, looking at our colleagues falling, killing, maiming people, and then they are hearing those people that are quote-unquote the leaders in the forefront, calling these people with names that suggest that, should I drop the gun and go back home? This is what you call misalignment of objectives. What are the objectives? Ladies and gentlemen, with profound this, we must align lockstep, the leaders, the soldiers, the armed forces, and the citizens. When you have discordant views, if people are holding political offices, crucial as national security positions, whether it is in the army or anywhere, and you are making these statements, you are saying you don't even understand the dimension of the issue, or we should ask you a question with regards to your allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And that is an issue. So, but when you have the right people in the right place, they know what to say, they know what not to say, they know what to do and what not to do. And in the case of consequence, where they don't perform, fire them because we are in the battlefield. Moving on from there also, we have teaming youths. We talk about intelligence. Today in Abuja and some part of this country, we have young Nigerians below 30. They are building drones, ladies and gentlemen, in this country. They have the capacity to build these drones. We have talented people. We cannot even bring in these people and assimilate them because of politics. To deploy these guys, pay them what it takes, give them the opportunity to demonstrate capacity to help us in fighting this cankerworm that is disturbing us, because it is all hands on deck. Hiring, what do they call them? Power Rangers, what this group, this
Forest guards.
grass cutter, forest guards. These are people, none of them can even fire at a target and get it. None of them can have one clip magazine of an AK-47.
And they training them.
How many days do you have to train this? These guys are what you call war-tested, scarred terrorists all over, fully armed, that the Nigerian army is struggling to keep up the pace. Why not assimilate this 1,000 into the Nigerian armed forces, whether it is police, whether it is army, whether it is civil defense, because indeed they are all short-staffed. Pull them there because they have an existing structure and doctrine to train these people in such a way and manner that those people will not flip the side and become members of the bandits or informers, because we cannot control them. So I think we should focus on building capacity on the institutional armed forces going forward, and therefore the Ministry of Interior to be recalibrated to be able to deal with the issue. The Ministry of Interior, as it is, cannot even handle our correctional facilities, not because they don't want to, but because they don't have the capacity. It's a conversation for another day. But if we want to up the game, we must recalibrate the Ministry of Interior. But the man, boots on the ground, the equipments in themselves, 7% budget allocation does not demonstrate seriousness for our defense when our people are dying. So no amount of 18,000, 30,000 people that are killed will make sense when all we deploy is 70%, not 70, 7%. When 70% is even inadequate in this situation. So we need to up our game in that regard.
All right. So our time is fast spent. You guys will be surprised. And I wanted us to also talk about politics. Good thing, the president has appointed a Homeland Security advisor.
Which is a good one.
You know, so hopefully if they take this forward in proper manner, it can be helpful. But let's switch to politics, and we have, you know, just about 6 minutes more. So
seriously,
you guys are going to get 2 minutes each, and I'm going to start with Etim. So I see that with all of this thing that we're talking about, our politicians are just continuing in their political games. And we're not saying that they shouldn't play it. You know, that's what happens everywhere. But I see a preoccupation, a predominant preoccupation with the political games.
With politics of re-election.
Yeah. Even in the process of elections, I don't hear, and I hope it's not just thoughts. What are their own solutions?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
What do you think is happening?
And this is what is really making the whole thing very saddening. And this is what is causing all the concerns Nigerians have about this democracy. The politicians are not showing enough seriousness, enough dedication to the task ahead. It is either they are discussing self-perpetuation, or how to make the primaries to favor the incumbents, or how to make the National Assembly members come back to office. It is so disconcerting. That is the problem. I think number one solution from me is that we should cut off this re-election season and make every term single term. Whether the president
or federal representative
or governors, because you find out that after the first 2 years,
they abandon
governance and go back to politics of re-election. Nothing is happening again. So we should amend this constitution. This is a season of constitutional amendment. We should amend this constitution and make sure that the president stays for a single term of 6 or 7 years. Let me use this opportunity to chip in on state police. I commend the government that it is moving closer to decentralizing the policing system in the country by creating state police. But I should also advise that state police will not offer automatic solution to insecurity problem in this country. We have seen in the past how we quickly embrace a policy decision because we think that will be a game changer. In this country, we thought that privatization of NEPA will improve electricity. But here we are. So state police, so state police is not automatic solution to insecurity. Rather, it is how state police would be managed.
Okay, very, very, very important contributions. Mr. Lodja, you know, your 2 minutes on the issue, you know.
Well, you know, this solution. Maybe I will just refer people to look for this thing like that. Our politicians do not actually show that they are ready. They are ready to take over. If it is the same cycle that I wrote about some dangerous assumptions. Yes, that ruins.
Following the series.
Majesty. Yes, a dangerous assumption. This assumption from 1993 to 1999, from 1999 to 2023, that produced the present government. And these politicians, there are so many things, we do not have the time to discuss them, but I've just summarized in this way that when you look at data, even EFCC telling us that some governorship candidates spent up to some 30 billion to get nomination. This is not a good story about our politics. How much are you going to pay the governor from statutory allocation that you, and even look at the way they are able to raise 100 million to obtain funds, 50 million to obtain funds to be in public office in Nigeria at such a time like this. You see that the way the politicians are talking, the way they are just reacting to the serious government, as I said in one of our interventions here, my brother Laudu,
yes,
is the way Chief Obafemi Awolowo was intervening as an opposition leader. It's not the way these our politicians are talking. Yes. They are just abusing themselves. They are not doing strategic planning and strategic thinking that will lead to nation building, that will lead to a new Nigeria. The way they are carrying themselves, they are not addressing the fundamental problem. Look at this terrorism issue. Why are we not addressing employment? There is massive unemployment. The young people that Malam Yusuf was talking about, the young people, their energy, their skill, the operating environment is not good enough for them to be able to do. We have educated people, our children, our young ones now, but the operating environment is not allowing them. It's everything politics. Governance takes just the back seat. So our politicians are not addressing the fundamental problems of this nation, and it's very, 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 very bad for all of us. Talking about this state police. State police is not something that is new for us at The Guardian, for instance. Look, if you see, this is a book that I produced at the time we did the 40th anniversary. Federalism is the answer. The Guardian Federalist papers, we have so many articles on state police here. I can speak. I can organize a conference on all those issues. We wrote so many things. That's why I would be able to tell you that they have so many police forces in the United Kingdom, but they have a common training ground. They have all those things like that. When there is a crisis like this, local police will appear first. It is when they do not have any solution that they will call for the federal police to intervene. But they have common training, they have commonality. It's not as if it's going to provide solution. Look at the federal police we have. It's even underfunded. People are afraid that governors will use them. It's something that is coming at a time of crisis. They will not be able to have concurrence in good time. If they pass it, even at the Senate, it's a constitutional amendment issue. They still have to take this thing to at least 24 states of the federation for concurrence before it becomes. Then what of the operations itself? But the political will to do this thing is not still there. We are doing this thing as a crash program, as we are responding to crisis. This thing we are giving birth to this thing in crisis. We are not looking at the details of they are passing at this time because of crisis. And I believe that it is a very good thing. It's a starting point, but at the time they are beginning in crisis, I think they need to put the house in order. It's a good thing, but this is not going to be the immediate solution to our problem. You should look at how to engage the young ones, how to employ them, because the terrorists are recruiting faster than government.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I mean, thank you so much. Our time is fast spent, but I'll give you 30 seconds, just to address the question that should Nigerians expect a significant turnaround because of state police or not?
No, they will
Quickly,
not.
please.
We should not expect a significant turnaround. I'm a proponent of state police, but this not this fire brigade approach to state police. It tells a lot of mechanics and dynamics. What we are going to do now, the way we are going is we are going to create emperors out of these governors, and that is going to be more dangerous going forward when they have this state police in their hands, moving into the 2027 election.
All right. So that means that yes, Justice.
Well, I think we should expect some improvements in the way things are, but it's not clear the way the state police will be operated. I read that state police means the federal police will be withdrawn and the whole state will be policed by state police.
Okay.
If that is the case, no, there will be a problem.
All right.
The two of them should operate simultaneously.
Yes. We're going to have more opportunity to talk about
yes.
How that should work, and I imagine that we're going to get more information. You'll be surprised how much ministry is spent. Our power is gone, and we couldn't even get into the nitty-gritty of politics, but there will be much more time to do that. Thank you so much, the members of our panel today, starting virtually from Mr. Martin Soloja, here in the studio, Mr. Etimetin, and Malam Baba Yusuf. Thank you so much for coming to Inside Sources.
Thank you for having us.
All right. And then you have another edition of Inside Sources that we always say Nigeria will prevail. It means Nigeria will win because we will keep talking about the major issues. Thank you for watching. My name is Laolu Akonde, and I'll see you at the next edition.